Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Open Space Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting via Zoom can do so by clicking the link that's in this thing. Do I have to read that whole URL?
You can just refer to the agenda.
Okay, by clicking on the link that is displayed in the agenda that can be found on the Wilmington Economic Development webpage at the Wilmington, Town of Wilmington's webpage. Members of the public who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may also do so via telephone by dialing 1-646-558-8656 and entering the meeting ID 873-4617-4999. Then press the pound sign and press the pound sign again at the next voice prompt. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the meeting designated for the public comment. By following the steps previously noted, then press *9 on their telephone keypad or using the raise hand function on Zoom. This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as we are able. Thank you very much. I had sent along minutes of the September 23rd, 2020 meeting a couple of days ago for everyone to review, and I would welcome any edits that people have to be made or a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Greg, you're not coming through at all. Your audio is muted. I shouldn't say it all. It's delayed or whatever. Quiet. But yeah, you're cutting in and out. Maybe because I'm talking over you. But I will say, I think I noticed, I don't know if anyone's looking at them, the date was wrong. I think Lil had taken the notes and maybe put at the top, it was, she had left the date of 8/18, which was the previous meeting. So we need to correct it to read 9/23/20. And I will correct that and any other corrections folks may want to make and send it to Lil for the revision and finalization. Otherwise, are there any other edits that folks?
It's also in number 1 too, Mike, to change it, the date in number 1 as well as at the top.
No, Carol, because number 1 was actually the action item.
Oh, I'm sorry, to approve the previous minutes. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, no, good thinking. Any other edits or changes, revisions?
Not an edit or revision, but when I talked about 168 Lowell Street, that number of units is actually 36. So I was off. So you know, it's not a correction. It's just so you know right now it's 36 units.
Thank you.
Yep.
I don't hear any others, so I'll make that edit. With that edit, is there a motion to approve?
Hey, Mike, I got a question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm in bold. Does that mean anything? Because I think I was like a minute or two late, but does that mean I wasn't there? Because I was there.
No, I don't think it means anything. No.
Oh. Just on my version, it's bold. I just want to make sure.
I see that too. I see Carol's bold too.
Yeah.
I don't believe that was intended to mean anything. I'm going to circle that now and just say debold.
I think that was because of your new assignments.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, good.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, unless Lil indicates to me that she put it in bold for some reason, I will just unbold it, change the date. Motion to approve by someone?
Make a motion to approve, Mike.
Thank you, Paul. I need a second.
I'll second.
And seconded. All in favor? I'm a yes. Carol?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
And Rob, we're approving minutes. You have any changes?
I didn't. No.
Good, because you can't make them. So I will accept that as approved. I will make those changes and send them. The next item on the agenda, it's a standing item, just in case Mr. Representative Robertson sometimes will elect to or have need to join us. So I keep it on the agenda. I don't see that he's here this evening with us, but I do want to acknowledge that he was successful in his reelection the other day. So we, I guess, collectively extend our congratulations to him and look forward to continuing to work with him for the benefit of our community. So hopefully we will hear from him in times soon with regards to any other activities that are happening at at Beacon Hill relative to economic development. Next bullet item or agenda item is the report from the planning office. And so I will hand the ball over to our very worthy Director of Planning and Conservation, Valerie Gingrich, to update us on any movements that she's aware of from her office.
Well, I did see that Salem 5 Bank that was mentioned, I think, last time by Nancy. They came in for permits for that spot across from Santander. There's some of the larger projects in town, like the redevelopment of 613 Main Street. They're coming in with some changes to that plan. They secured 2 tenants. One is Homans, which is actually up on Ballardville Street, has been in town for a few decades, and they're going to relocate to 613 Main Street and make it sort of their headquarters. And then they sell, I think it's HVAC equipment, so kind of large pieces of equipment.
Valerie, I'm
The
sorry.
name of that company? I'm sorry.
I will, Paul, go ahead.
No, I didn't catch the name. I just wanted to jot.
They're called Homans, Homan. Yep,
Okay.
Homans.
Excellent.
Rob, did you have something?
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a question. I had a question, Valerie. Can you geolocate the address? Where is it?
Sure. So 613 Main Street's the old Expedex.
Oh,
So back across the tracks on Main Street.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other tenant that they got is a really, really large warehouse building. It's like an acre worth of warehouse. So they split it into 2 tenants, one being Homans, and then the other one's going to be Lowe's, and not for retail use, but for their warehousing. So they're going to store appliances there that'll be taken out to be delivered and installed. So the owners are pretty happy about those 2 leases in that warehouse space. And they're under construction and trying to wrap up, at least on the Lowe's side, sometime soon.
Any indication, do they provide, or do you have any indication as to the number of employees that each of these places will have coming in?
I do have that in my office because they gave us a recent submittal that they're asking for a little less parking than they did before. So they'll have an employee count in there, but I wouldn't guess about what that is, but I do have it.
Okay. It's not mission critical tonight. It's just that it's always part of this economic development concept is jobs. Sure. and you know, spending, local community spending. So the way I look at it is a building with employees is better than an empty building. So that's my personal feeling on it anyway.
That's right. And Homans, they're going to be relocating from Ballardville, which will open up an opportunity on Ballardville Street as well, which is sort of a hot area for those types of uses. So we'll see what goes on there. But trying to think of other activity. I don't know that there's anything else to report that comes to mind.
I have a few. The Health Plus that's opening up in the old Card Smart.
What is it?
It's Health Plus. It's a urgent care facility.
Yep.
Yeah, that's opening up in the old Card Smart at the plaza around December 1st.
Good.
And I guess where Supercuts was, they have an offer that's been submitted, so they're waiting for that to be finalized, but I don't know who that is. And the Trump store, their lease right now is scheduled to expire December 5th. I'm assuming they're not going to renew, but waiting for confirmation on that. And then the other thing I know about is the old post office that is for sale. I heard that there has been an offer submitted for that. That's in the works as well. And I know, Val, we've been talking, Hayden Printing and Promotion is still looking to relocate. So we've been kind of trying to find some space around town that might be, that might work for him. He's looking for about 1,000 square feet. He's looking for about 1,000 square feet. Val, do you know anything about the Spirit store?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
Is there a Christmas version of that comes in?
I don't think so. But what I will just add to that, though, while we're talking about it, is I have been, the commercial properties spreadsheet or database that we had put together, I've been working on updating that, and I've talked to a lot of the commercial real estate brokers or management companies, and so I feel pretty good with what's on there. Is the right contact folks, and I have reached out to all of them, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time, I guess it is though, but I've reached out to all of them regarding their marketing, and so some of them have been sending me their marketing pieces with what they have for lease now, and then a kind of a generic piece that that my hope is we get these generic pieces from these management companies, and we house that on maybe our economic development website.
Those you had sent a couple examples, I think, earlier to me today. Is that right?
Yes.
Would you like to bring it up on screen to
Sure, and I didn't mean, I just thought it was the appropriate time to bring this up while we were talking.
We're here.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes up later, but let's not, it would be awkward, I think, to stop talking about it and to bring it up again. So if it's we'll just keep on charging.
Yeah.
John, and that would be
Northeast Development. I gave 2 samples from Northeast Development.
He's so good, right?
So this is the generic piece. So this is kind of the piece that I'm trying to get from as many of the developers as I can. So this would be, again, generic. This could be housed somewhere, and folks have contact information if they're available for any of that. And then this is the piece that is what's for lease right now, what's space that's available. So I've been using this piece and promoting it, you know, in a bunch of different ways, just through the chamber. But I think, so I have a couple more of these from other developers.
When you say developers, they're property managers?
Property managers, yeah, property managers. But, you know, there's some of them that they all go, some of them go by different titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, John. What does, Nancy, you had suggested that perhaps those, as you get them from whoever, I mean, this is one company that sent some information, but you indicated you have a few others, that you feel like it would be appropriate to house those in some location on our page on the town's website. I can't think of a reason not to, other than, I don't know, I can't even think of a reason not to, but I want to put that across.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's what we want to be doing there.
I agree. You know, I agree with that. You know, what I envision the page to look at like is, again, why should businesses come to Wilmington? So this is part of the whole marketing pitch, or the next step for them to, okay, they've chosen Wilmington, and now let's see where what's available or who I would call for these certain spaces.
Nancy, is it just physical buildings, or would it also be like land that's for sale? For example, if you go down, I think it's called West Street, heading by the Grace Chapel there, the old Grace Chapel, there's a huge parcel of land like I think it's 5 acres or something for sale for commercial use on the left as you're heading towards Reading.
Right.
Is that something that you'd also, envision saying, putting it out there that, they're not only can you come into an existing building, but if you're looking to build, here's some land too.
I mean, I think ideally it would be great. I know Lucy has land too. It's difficult to keep up with
I know
what's open. So, what I would envision is kind of more a generic piece, but then we could have the LoopNet. We could have maybe a couple of hyperlinks that go to LoopNet and maybe a couple other places where, there's up-to-date availability.
Is there
almost like a town map with a pin on it? I can kind of see a map of Wilmington with pins on it, say, and you hit the pin, like when you Google something and it gives you that little bubble.
And that's kind of, yeah.
Kind of where it is.
Do that. They kind of do that in LoopNet. So.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. But if, like I said, the spreadsheet that I have it's pretty good. And actually right now it includes everything that's on LoopNet. So again, it's not something that I can keep up with. Mm-hmm. It would be something you would have to be checking, every other week to keep up with that. But it was a good exercise to reach out to the management companies and have a conversation like we have been talking about, and having a conversation with them about kind of the role of the Economic Development Committee and what we can do for them, and helping them market their properties and introduce the committee. And so they were very receptive. I think at first, not so much, but by the end of the conversation, they were very receptive. And so we'll see how many of these pieces we get.
Nice.
Jeff, can I ask a question? Is there some guidance where what line, or is there any lines between the public space and the private space? Like, is there anything that we need to be concerned with? Like, what we put up on the website and what we don't?
I would expect there would be some restrictions, but I think in terms of this particular situation where the Economic Development Committee has a page and the intent is to provide information about buildings or space, office space, commercial space that's available. I don't, in that instance, see there being a problem with providing that information. As long as, ultimately the intent, as I see it, would be simply providing connections, if you will, for someone who may be looking for space, pulls that information up and then has an appropriate contact. The town isn't going to be clearly able to advocate or market, so to speak, one piece versus another, but as an inventory of space, I think that seems reasonable.
Okay.
And I think if we don't, it'd be great if we could get these marketing pieces from as many folks as possible. But, if we don't get them, we could at least possibly put their name and phone number. So we're not showing, favoritism by just putting one or two of them on. It's a start. And maybe, again, the more we talk to these folks and they see that, or we're promoting it, maybe we'll get more.
Agreed. I don't know if this warrants a vote. I think it's worthy that we pursue this and get whatever content we have up on the site, and hopefully that will create more desire for other folks to have their content also displayed. We don't want to play favorites here, to Jeff's point. Really just be a conduit of communications and help everybody with access to information. So I don't know, is there an objection to it? I guess I'll ask that way.
Not for me.
So I will just assume that that means we're going to be go ahead and blaze forward. Nancy, I'll ask you to work directly with John, if that's okay, John O'Neill, on what the information is and how you envision it getting onto the page. There may be things that he has ideas on how to create buttons or whatever. So if you guys want to have that dialogue, I'm confident whatever you settle on will be sufficient for us.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So that was kind of some of the stuff that you just said comes up later again, so we'll just check that off. But Valerie, that was your agenda item. We're going to check that off as complete. Is that fair for you?
Sounds fair.
All right. The next one I had is when I was creating this agenda, I was literally watching the governor give his press conference about, the additional restrictive advisory that goes into effect tomorrow. And, I was thinking how or will that affect businesses in Wilmington? And I don't know. I just wanted to bring it out, put it out on the agenda for discussion. If anyone had any thoughts about whether or not it will, if so, is there any role that we have in helping some of those businesses navigate that? So I'll leave it there and sort of ask anyone to offer any thoughts on it.
My only thought is that I think the more significant effect to some businesses will be the weather more so than the restrictions, because I think the businesses are doing pretty well with their outside, takeouts always robust, I think, in Wilmington anyway, but also some of the outdoor dining, which I've tried to try different places, has been pretty successful. But, as that kind of comes to a close, I think that's going to have a bigger impact than some of the state mandates.
Yeah, the one category that I saw that takes effect tomorrow is, there were a number of types of businesses that would not be able to either be open or open after 9 o'clock or 9:30, or after 10, I suppose. And one of them was gyms, fitness centers. And I thought, that kind of stinks. It's really the only category I think in Wilmington that would be affected. The others weren't businesses that we have here largely, and I don't have it on my screen, so I can't speak intelligently on it. But other than that, I didn't really see. Restaurants generally are already kind of closing at or by 10, so I didn't see that the new restrictions would be overly restrictive to the restaurant businesses going forward. And yeah, Carol, to your point, I think the cold weather coming is a bummer. I mean, if we get through this surge in the virus, God willing, things even off, hopefully the number of bodies inside a restaurant can be increased again. But in terms of communication to the local businesses, is the state's methods sufficient early on in the lockdowns or when the pandemic was really kind of catching up? When we started going into Zoom only meetings, we took a role of helping extend communications and putting links on the website and doing some stuff to try to help the local businesses navigate and gain access to some of the state resources. Do we still think that that's necessary, or do you think most of the businesses have kind of gotten used to the idea of where they get their information?
Do we have any idea how often we're being viewed? I'm sorry, whoever was speaking. Do we have any idea on the website when people click on economic development? Maybe John knows how many views are we getting? I mean, are people using it as a source?
I don't know that answer off the top of my head. I don't know, John, if you have that handy.
I'm looking it up right now, actually.
While you do, I think I heard somebody else starting to lob a question.
Mr. Chair, I was just going to note that in my conversations with Shelley, certainly with regard to the restaurants and the fitness centers and many of the businesses that she's involved in with one form or another, she's established and has for a long time had a relationship in terms of connecting with these businesses. And so to your question about the businesses obtaining information about the changes, I think in many cases, she's been able to provide some guidance there. So clearly, one point person.
Great. Yeah, we're certainly grateful to the incredibly hard work that she's been doing in so many different ways over the course of the last several months.
I could say that I certainly, through the chamber, I'm still sending out communications all the time from the stage. But I would actually turn it over to the folks that are on the line that have businesses. And what are your thoughts? Because a lot of business owners that I'm hearing, you know, they're getting the same communication 4 or 5 times. So I would ask you that question as a business owner.
Who do we have that's a business owner?
We have
Well, for my business, it's mostly over the phone call or Zoom, so I haven't really been restricted too much. So.
I'm seeing a lot of communications. To your point, I think to your question, Nancy, certainly I'm getting a lot of communications that, you know, I'm not an owner of my business, but, you know, I'm at a level where I'm receiving a lot of the communications from state or local chambers of commerce, our Wilmington Tewksbury Chamber being one, but others as well. Salem State has the Enterprise Center, so I'm getting a lot of notifications from them. And oftentimes they are duplicative, and I don't care. That's good. More is better. You know, it's sometimes whoever gets that information to me first, that's great. It's not really a competition. In some cases, one person's or one email catches my eye more than another.
Mm-hmm.
And to that point, I think it's worthwhile to have duplicating messages. I'm not suggesting that we necessarily should be pushing out emails and communications. I think there's probably a lot of that communication already going out to folks, but my only question was, do we have a role in helping along those communications? And I think by and large, we've put links to the state's website. And if folks are, you know, if they're at our page looking for information, at least we do have some directional resources for them, if nothing else. And we're not looking to replace the Chamber of Commerce locally or anywhere else for that matter.
I mean, it would be nice to just have kind of just the title, if it was, you know, the stay-at-home advisory, to just have the title with the link to the press release or to that page. You know, an ongoing.
We can change it right now. You know, the very first bold underlined sentence underneath our committee web page says COVID-19 resources and guidance for businesses. And that link, I'm clicking it. That brings up a PDF that we created a couple months ago with a bazillion links to the state of Massachusetts reopening, to the town, Massachusetts, mass.gov, reopening Massachusetts, COVID-19 resources and guidance, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to read it. So, I mean, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but if there's other links that we ought to be putting on there, I'm receptive to hearing about it. And you know, whatever you guys think is the best way to be of benefit.
Is the Chamber of Commerce one of the links on there? That might be a good thing to put on there.
I don't believe it is.
No, it's not. Why is that, Nancy?
I don't know.
There you go.
I'm just making a note. We'll look at updating that PDF, and if there's a different title for it, Nancy, you'd like it to see, you know, maybe offline where you and I can talk about what would be more eye-catching or a better description for what's embedded in it. John, did you have any? Were you able to come up with any numbers there?
Yes, not great. 43 page views in the last 90 days.
Okay. Those are probably all me.
I know, I did a couple too.
We need some help from the local press to get the word out.
Yes, yes. Well, I think the survey results, if it was more, I think people would be really interested in that more, you know, it's kind of cool news really. And the way it's presented is done so well, I thought, with the clouds and everything. So maybe if the press could focus on that, you know, if you haven't seen it, you know, there's a.
Well, I will say that Mr. Hayes, who is listening in on this meeting right now, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves, when we did put the link up, there was some local press. He you know, in the Apple, he did indicate that it was out there and available. I can't remember if we got any other local press on that matter, but you know.
Facebook's another good one to put that out on the community page on Facebook. I don't know if when you mean the Apple, you probably mean the media Apple as well as the physical print Apple anyway, but.
Yeah, Carol, I concur. And if you're up there on the local pages, the community pages, I certainly, I don't want to always be the annoying poster of content. So if
okay, so I can just go in and, you know,
just make a mention. You could simply make a mention as yourself.
I'm going to do it.
By the way, this information is available, and here's the link to it.
In my notes here. Okay.
I can certainly put something out on the town Facebook again. Maybe you know, once a month, just throw some information out there that links back to the website and committee page.
Yeah. Thank you, John. That'd be good. Do you have a good following on that page?
You know, we just created it this year, and it's certainly getting better and better. Yeah.
Just make sure you make it shareable, so you know you can share it onto the community page easily.
Yep. Sometimes I do share stuff directly to the community page too. Not too much, just like Mike mentioned. I don't want to pester the community board too much with information.
I'll do that because I'm just a citizen, so I can do that. I'll be happy to.
Awesome. Thank you both. Let's keep marching. Hey, Rob, you're next on the agenda here. Rob and I had the opportunity to chat a little bit with Maria DiStefano of the Mass Office of Business Development. Geez, what, 2 weeks ago now, Rob? Time flies.
Yes, 23rd, I think. Oh, 23rd did we end up doing?
I think so, yeah. And just as a...
And Greg?
MOBD, Mass Office of Business Development. Also, I think Nancy and I have signed up for, I don't know if you did too, Rob, there's an information session about the Economic Development Incentive Program. They're calling it the EDIP. And it's just an information session to let people like us know what's going on and what they have available. And I think it's a grant program or just really an aid program being overseen by MOBD. But Rob, I'll ask you to sort of talk to the nature of that conversation, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I mean, I think our endeavor was, or our task was, to go out and find a means, or if there was a means of grants or funding that we could tap into at the Commonwealth or state level to help, you know, either attract or incentivize local business to open up here, and or to see if there were ways to assist existing businesses that were in the community. And we ended up, Greg, you and I, Mike and I, ended up having that telephone conference with Maria, who is a wealth of information. She's the Northeast, regional manager for Mass Office of Business Development. And what I gathered from that is there are programs out there for communities to tap into, but then again, there's, you know, criteria that we must meet in order to be eligible for those funds or grants. And the two that I remember is one that you just said, the EDIP, which is the Economic Development Incentive Program. And then the other one was the Mass Vacant Storefront Program, are the two that, you know, stand out in my mind with that. And I also did get that link. I just saw it today, as a matter of fact, for November 18th at 10 a.m. for the Mass Hire / EDIP, again, Economic Development Incentive Program training. So I will sign up for that. I have not yet, but I definitely will to get more knowledgeable. So yeah, I don't know, Mike, if you or Greg, if you've had time to, you know, think about what one or what fund or grant that we thought potentially would be advantageous for us or the most applicable. To be honest, I have not. So yet at this point, but I was hoping, you know, after the training with Maria, I'd have a better idea, but I don't know if someone else is more astute or anyone on our committee with those programs at this point.
I actually have the overview of the vacant downtown storefronts program right in front of me.
Okay.
I'd have to look at this one again about criteria.
Okay.
And then there was the micro grant one that I was just sent out. Is that the other one that you were talking about, the micro grant?
No, but I do remember her mentioning that quickly, but the two that I remember was that Massachusetts vacant storefront program and then the economic development incentive program are the two that I remembered. And then on the list that she sent, you know, Mass Hire is another one, which I'm not really familiar with at this point, but she did mention it in the last email she put out to us.
Mr. Chairman, if I could chime in.
Please do.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Rob said. I thought the call, although it was fairly short, only 20, 30 minutes or so, it was very informative. I thought she was incredible. She's the type of person you could listen to for quite a while. But the one that stood out to me was the empty storefront initiative program that the state has available. I would love to hear more about that. But then the first thing I did after the call was looked her up online, and she's got a great Twitter page in which she's putting out a lot of important information. So I would encourage people to check.
Oh, you're frozen.
Greg, bad signal, kid.
There he is.
Greg, you back? Talk.
Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, we lost.
Yeah, we lost you when you said you looked her up and that she was a wealth of information.
Well, my apologies on that, but her Twitter page is very active and very informative. So I just wanted to give that a plug. I've enjoyed reading on some of the things she's promoting.
Oh, good.
Maria DiStefano.
Could we get her on one of our meeting calls, Mike?
Yeah, we alluded to that when we were chatting with her. And you know, the thinking was we would want to try to participate and just try to start to acquire some of this information and knowledge. I mean, it's all new to everybody that was on the call. And she was real receptive to, you know, coming and joining us at a subsequent time to make us all better aware. And by virtue of making us all better aware, hopefully make the rest of the community better aware of some of the programs that are available through the Mass Office of Business Development. It's one of those things, you know, you go to mass.gov and it's a myriad of information, and it's, you know, almost too much. It's hard to find what you're looking for. You don't even know what you're looking for sometimes. And so letting someone sort of talk about these are the locations, these are the silos of information can be helpful. I'm overwhelmed by it, to be truthful with you, with what the criteria are and how or if it can be beneficial. But I think it's absolutely worth continuing to get educated and bring it to the surface of the community.
Yeah, it sounds like you found a real nugget. Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. You know,
She was adamant that we meet again and that she would be like she would like to come before the whole committee at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we had worked with her when the analog TIF was being developed and sort of implemented. She was a great resource to the town. That EDIP program, that's the TIF program that we took advantage of with analog. So tax incentives for job creation. So that's one of the things that I think was mentioned by Rob.
Yep. Yes, and Valerie, she mentioned that as well. As you know, like we hear this, she did mention that during our meeting. But again, she threw a lot of information at us at a little amount of time, and which was great. I mean, she's just a great resource for us, and I'm happy that we did locate her, and that she's so enthusiastic and helpful. I mean, she wanted to come tonight. You know, she wanted to. That was one of her suggestions, that she wanted to, you know, participate in our meeting tonight. And we had, you know, just said, let us get to the committee first. But she's Yeah, very anxious and very helpful. She's great.
So what I'm going to do is she sent us a link to an info session, which takes place on the 18th. Rob, you don't think there'd be a problem if we extended that to the rest of the committee to, if they care to, they could participate, right?
No, matter of fact, I specifically remember her saying that, you know, that if we wanted other people, that she'd be more than happy to, you know, have them attend. So
I'll send the link to everyone. There's no obligation to attend. It's
right.
during the day. I know folks are working and stuff.
Right.
But you know, the more of us that can participate, the more information that gets acquired. And then maybe after that, that's like I say, I think that's the 18th. After that point, then we'll lobber an invitation to come and address us at our next meeting. So we'll carve out probably a good portion of the next meeting for her to talk about the programs and how we might be able to, you know, either avail the town of the programs or incent the businesses to take advantage of the resources that are there.
Yep, agreed.
That good?
Sounds
Agreed.
good.
Sounds good.
If you don't get an email from me in the next day or so, call me or kick me, please. I just wrote it, but thank you, Rob. What's that?
I said, thank you guys for your help and knowledge, you know, being on the phone with her. I couldn't have done it without you guys for sure. So I appreciate that.
No, she was cool to talk to. Very high energy.
Yes.
Which is good. It's good.
Yes.
Mike, sounds like she eats, sleeps, and breathes this. Her husband is director in was it Gloucester?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Good recall, Greg. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in her blood.
Yeah.
It's good. Let's get it in our blood. Moving on, we are on 6, and I'll be really brief. I don't remember exactly how I was introduced. Maybe through you, Valerie.
Yeah.
Mary Beth Beatrice from what's the name of the organization? Sorry, I have it here.
Mass Hire.
Mass Hire, Metro North Career Center. And so she and I had a nice conversation. I just want to address, if anybody is rewatching this on WCTV or is, you know, whatever, if this information gets out through the press or anywhere else, Mass Hire MN, as in Metro North. So it's masshiremncareers.com. They're an organization located in Woburn, and they're looking to try to help folks get or find jobs. But they're also looking for businesses and asking businesses to alert them to any job openings that those businesses have. She indicated, and I wasn't aware, but that a lot of companies are having difficulty finding staff in these times, which I thought was kind of ironic. And that the companies can work through Mass Hire, and Mass Hire will help. You know, it's the dating game for careers, right? So they identify potential candidates and bring them all together. So she just wondered if perhaps having some exposure through the Economic Development Committee in Wilmington would help the businesses be aware of potential candidates and help you know, potentially folks looking for jobs in Wilmington communicate with her of their availability, and perhaps she has companies in her repertoire that would be looking for their skills. So that's another resource for job seekers, as well as businesses looking to fill positions. And it's, again, the Mass Hire at masshiremncareers.com. Public service announcement. I'm not necessarily promoting that agency per se. It's just another agency that perhaps was not well known to our community.
Well, they used to be the Career Center in Woburn.
Yeah.
Right.
How long ago? I mean, years ago, right?
Oh, well, I want to say they changed their name probably, I want to say only like 3 years ago or maybe less than that. Who was your contact? Was it Mary? Yeah.
Mary Beth Beatrice.
Yeah.
Mary Beth.
Yep.
Really nice on the phone and stuff. And I asked her, you know, if there was any other big events or activities that were happening to keep us apprised, and she said that she would do so. So we may hear from her again in the future. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Unless there's questions, we'll move on.
I guess I just had a question, wondering how, is there an effort on Mass Hire's part to reach out to some of the businesses in the area. I've noticed of late, just coming down Ballardvale, for example, there's a number of signs along the way. You know, we're hiring. FedEx, I think, was one, and there's some others there. And be certainly to the extent that an outfit like FedEx or whoever might be looking for employees is able to connect with Mass Hire and vice versa, that would be advantageous.
One of the things she said, Jeff, was that I don't know if it's a lack of bandwidth or just lack of time or awareness of how to do it. That's exactly what she's looking to do, is to try to make their service, they're there because it's on my other screen, make their services better known to the greater business community. And so she viewed this conversation that we're having right now as one way to do that. I tried to put her in touch with Nancy. I'm not sure if she ever did reach out to you, Nancy, from a Chamber of Commerce perspective, to try to work that angle as well. And those are just some things that she and I talked about. And we did talk about inviting her to come and speak here, but she wasn't able to do it. So we kind of tabled that at least for this meeting.
Well, one of the thoughts was, and to do it at a regional level with the other chamber directors is a virtual job fair.
Good idea.
Yeah.
I believe she said that the companies that were looking for folks was Amazon and I think it was FedEx. So those businesses had reached out to her for help in finding employees.
Yeah.
Thank you, Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I noticed as an aside? I was standing at the polls up at the Shriners the other night for an hour or so, and the Amazon Prime trucks.
Yeah.
Suzanne, right? Remember? I mean, there had to be 100 of them. They were buzzing past where you pull into the Shriners to go vote, and they're driving up the hill. I was surprised at the volume of them. And of course, this was at around 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So they were all pretty much finishing their route. But boy, it was a busy road.
They had an Amazon rally.
I'm not sure who they were voting for, but.
Yeah.
Which building are they in over there, Mike?
I'm not really sure. Someone else may know it. They're down in back. They were going up there. Remember where the fireworks were shot from a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yes,
So there's more buildings behind there?
Oh, no. They're way before the Shriners, on the opposite side of Shriners. So
they're at 100, 110. So where the old VW was.
Landscaping up on the left, it's like up the hill a little bit, right?
Yeah.
However, I think they are using some of the parking area informally right now. So
Jeez, I hope I didn't get anybody in trouble. Shut my mouth.
no, I already knew. So I think we'll see something. I think they're working on maybe something a little bit more permanent. So we'll see something in the future.
Oh, that's good. Hoping they're giving a couple of bucks to the Shriners. That would be good for using their lot.
It was busy. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
All right, that's 6. 7. Suzanne.
Yes.
COVID-19 grants for Massachusetts small businesses. EmpoweringSmallBusiness.org. I'll let you talk to this bullet.
Well, it's so this grant, you have to actually sign up to be a grant recipient from the state of Massachusetts for this grant. My understanding anyways, from what I read through. And but what's good about it is it does target smaller businesses. There's like a 2-prong point of it. One of them is if you haven't been able, if you're a small business and you haven't been able to take advantage of other grant opportunities or the CARES Act or the federal program, if those things haven't worked out for you, then you can try to get this grant from the state. Also, it serves veterans and minority and women-owned businesses, and it also serves a lot of gateway communities. So that's kind of the purpose of the grant. One of the things I did notice about the MGCC is there's a section on it where you can actually sign up for updates and newsletters and things of that nature. So I was thinking about doing that to stay kind of on top of what's going on. I mean, the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation is a really, wouldn't say cutting edge, but I mean, I think it's mostly funded through philanthropy and, you know, that's my understanding to it anyways, and state dollars. So, I mean, it's a great program. I don't know if anybody in Wilmington would be able to take advantage of it, but it was up to what, I think, was it $25,000 in grant money that you didn't have to pay back.
Right. And the timeline is tough. The applications opened on the 22nd of October and they close on the 12th of November. So it's just next week, right?
Yeah, 3 weeks. And the preference was for small business owners with women, veterans, and minorities.
Well, yeah, that preference will be given to that, but anyone can apply. I did send that out because it is under, you know, there's a app for under 5 employees, and then there's an app for under 50 employees.
Yep.
So yeah, I sent that out last week, and I actually did put it on Facebook too, because I did encourage folks to look at that. I think it's one that some of them would fit the criteria.
Yep.
Thank you, Nancy. And if we're ever successful in getting folks to see us on the town's website as another resource, then they would have seen that we actually did, per Suzanne's suggestion, when this became known, we did post that to the town, to the economic development page. Yeah. So that link is up there as another access point. Yeah. So yeah, just the public, I'm hoping the public will get the message as we continue this effort, that we're doing our best to try to make these programs known to small businesses. Anything else, Suzanne, on that?
No, and I was wondering, Nancy, have you ever signed up for the updates of?
I get them, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Thank you. So yeah, just let us know. There's something really good and meaty that comes out from that agency. You know, we can continue to update and either place new links, or I guess next week we'll probably pull that link down and maybe just put a link just to the general to the main page rather than to the grant page.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea because, like I said, I mean, this looks like a good resource that people may be interested in, not even know it exists. You know.
That's the problem. I think oftentimes there's so many resources and buckets of information and funding. If you don't know, then you don't have access to it.
Right.
Moving on, under agenda item 8, I'll just say that the survey results are in fact published on the economic development page. The word cloud diagrams, as well as I forget exactly what. There was a couple of components of the results were posted up there for the public's consumption, and I'm hoping that the public will go and see it. Nancy, well, I don't want to gloss over that. Any concerns, questions, or comments about getting that information published or put up on the site? The discussion last time we met was about a brochure or a flyer or something. Nancy had brought to our attention a fairly comprehensive document that the town of Tewksbury had produced some time ago. And you know, the thought was, could we do something along those lines? So I don't know, Nance, I don't know if you wanted to talk to that now or you know, give some...
Yeah, I think, John, you have the link to that, right? So the Northern Middlesex Council of Government is, I mean, I've known about this Tewksbury guide, but when I actually looked at it a little closer, I noticed that it was prepared by the Northern Middlesex Council of Government. So I said, oh, okay. So I called them, and I've been just kind of going back and forth with them, not getting the right person, but I finally got to the area. So I really don't have an update. They seemed receptive at first to, oh, okay, yeah. You know, they knew exactly the document I was talking about. So I think I have the right person now, but we just really haven't connected about it. So that's still a work in progress. If, you know, it's something that they can't do, then, you know, it's something that we can move forward and kind of doing our own, using that as a template. That's all I have about that.
Okay, and the thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, when we looked at it last week, John, are you able to bring that up? It was in the email that I forwarded to you earlier today. It was the Tewksbury Guide to Small Business or something.
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Of course.
Yeah.
As you will all see when John brings it up, it's 20 pages, you know, 20 PDF pages, which is awesome. There's a lot of great content there, but is it too much, right? Yeah, and we don't have to read it page by page, but you can see it's it's attractive to look at, and they're putting their best foot forward. They're talking about, they're doing some of the stuff that I've been wanting to do for a long time, even before Economic Development Committee was created. And so the question I guess I have is, do we want to have our version of this multi-page, multi-section guide? Or are we looking to do something a little bit less comprehensive, but more marketing oriented? I don't have it's, you know, I don't have an answer to that question. I'm not sure. Maybe it's both. But you know, before we blaze forward and start producing content or engaging the assistance of folks, I think maybe we ought to kind of know collectively what we're looking to accomplish.
Well, I think a lot of the information that's in here is stuff that is already on the website and our stats and facts, and you know, it's, you know, putting it all together. But you know, I do think that we need something flashy, whether it be this or, you know, another idea that again is welcoming not only businesses to town, but is flashy for residents as well. And can I cue the video?
Well, there's a video, that's right.
Oh, so my other thought, and again, these are just thoughts. My other thought is a video that came to me and it's Newburyport Chamber of Commerce that did this, but we're not Newburyport. We understand that. So we don't have the boats and you know, the beaches and all of that, but it's still something that we could do for the town and make it attractive to businesses and residents alike. So this is just a thought that I had that could be done. Can we play the video?
We're working on it.
Oh.
So I just Googled it. I imagine it's what I'm about to pull up on YouTube.
It was a link in her email.
Oh, I don't know if I have that.
Can I do it? It looks like I have screen sharing. Let's see.
There we go.
That's it. You gotta.
Oh, you don't have the music.
Why is the music that good?
Well, yeah, it talks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't think this is the right one.
No, it's not.
No, this isn't the right one.
Okay.
Can I take over sharing?
Sure, absolutely.
This is gonna scare me. I don't know if this is gonna work. Hold on. If I do this, share with.
There it goes.
That's my chime on my clock.
Oh.
It's 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Did the video, is it coming up?
No.
Are you guys just looking at the email right now?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know what? I do have that link. I'll
Okay.
bring it up. I'll bring it up right now.
Oh, I needed to get there and then do share. You have to enable sound too, John, when you hit it. There you go.
Welcome to Newburyport, a thriving coastal city where historic meets hip. The city and surrounding towns are conveniently located on I-95 and I-495 and serviced by the North Shore Rail Line. Newburyport is largely a locally owned business community with few corporate chains, resulting in diverse and unique offerings in food, arts, shopping, and oceanside recreation. The vibrant downtown provides a mix of retail and restaurant space, plus attractive office space for a wide range of businesses. We're home to ad agencies, financial companies, designers, manufacturers, and more. We also have some of the best tradespeople like builders, electricians, and plumbers. For larger retail space, the Port Plaza Shopping Center is accessible by several major highways and offers space for fitness centers, supermarkets, and everything in between. For industrial space, we have an expansive business and manufacturing park that operates globally and provides goods and services used every day. Newburyport is also home to the nationally recognized Anna Jakes Hospital, which brings high-quality community healthcare to the region. With a thriving downtown and unbeatable location, Newburyport is a great place for any business to call home.
Wow.
I have video envy.
I know. I know. They got to go there.
Hey, listen, we got 2 kayaks at my house. I'm happy to bring them down to Silver Lake.
That's right. We have Silver Lake. No, but seriously, I mean, I know that's really wonderful and flashy, but it's, you know, I wrote down a whole list of things that we could highlight. And, you know, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot when it comes to industrial, when it comes to the hospitals, when it comes to location, when it comes to, we could focus more on, you know, quality of life. You know, you put all your things in there about 4th of July and all of the, you know, the Easter stuff and the parades and about the school system. So there's, you know, then you do the businesses. So I don't know. It was just a thought. There's a, well, first, what do you think about the thought?
I love it. I'm such a dismal person. How do we produce that?
So that's the thing. So it can be produced, but it would have to, I know that it wouldn't be able to, it would have to be probably through the chamber because I would have to get sponsors. I had a sponsor, I was looking for a main sponsor, and I had one that just dropped out like today. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that I actually got the idea from. It was actually Salem 5 Bank that's opening up in Wilmington. You know, the guy, I have the person that's going to produce it. They produce it, you know, basically free of cost. So you get they have one sponsor. So I do have a video that has the sponsor on it, and it's very quick. It's just kind of like, you know, the name of the company, this video brought to you by blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And then it goes into the video. And then there are opportunities for like 4 other sponsors. So again, it would be something that couldn't be done through the town, but could possibly be done through the chamber that housed on the chamber site and possibly, if approved, the economic development page.
Are you looking for the economic development committee to be a sponsor for the for you?
Well, at this point, I don't have a sponsor, so I just wanted to even put the feelers out there to see if there was even any interest in this.
What would sponsorship look like, Nancy?
It's like $1,500, and the guy would basically produce the video for $1,500.
Now, Jeff, I know we don't have a budget, but is there any way we can access funds for an effort like this? Is there a mechanism that we can do that, or no? Greg's giving me the no. All right.
I would love to have had it from the Economic Development Committee.
Me too.
Right.
Okay.
Well, can we? I mean,
let me give that some thought and follow up on that point, on that question.
That's a fair. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, Jeff, to do that to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that's a very fair answer.
Yeah, that's not a lot of money. I mean, I think, you know, obviously.
It's not a lot of money, and you know, it's not a lot of money, and maybe it's something that we even ask Dave Robinson. You know, if there's some funds, because ideally, I think it would be something that does not have businesses attached to it. If it's going on, I mean, I would love it to be housed on the town website.
And Mr. Shampoo, if I could, I don't know if we have a member of the board of directors at WCTV on the line, Robert, but maybe our friends over there could help us out too, produce something.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, Greg.
Well, this is a professional company, so they would be doing the entire thing.
$1,500 is cheap.
It is. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see, but I mean, to me, it's to market the town. I mean, it might be a good investment.
Yeah, I like the idea of having it sponsored by this committee too, as opposed to a business, because I don't know, that just feels right to me. It's like there's no agenda.
Yeah, me too. I think I think it would be an awesome video if the chamber did it with one of the banks or some other private business as a sponsor. But if that was the case, then I think it would be, there's a real fuzzy line as to how much this body can promote that video.
Right.
Maybe put a link and then leave it there. But I'd love for it to be an endeavor that spearheads out of this committee. I just don't know how to get there. So I just circled Representative Robertson's name. He and I have had a couple of conversations over the course of the last several months about the potential for some funds to be made available for economic development, but it's down the road kind of stuff. So I'll corner him again now that his focus is not so distracted, and perhaps we can get some momentum on that. But yeah, Jeff.
Let me follow up with you after the meeting, Mr. Chair, and I'll look at that.
Yeah. Let's. I just don't want this to die on the vine. I think it's a good idea and worth trying to figure out something creative on it.
And let me just find my notes again and confirm that $1,500.
Yeah, it's probably 15,000, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah.
Drop the decimal.
Hey, we can chip in $125 each and get it done.
Yep.
Seriously, I'm in for a couple.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to table that discussion, but it's not tabled. Doesn't mean kick the can down the road. It means we're going to continue to evaluate what our resources are, because I think we all universally agree that it's worth having and worth pursuing. Nancy, I'm sorry, I'm going to stay with you here real quick. Email notifications. You had done a round one out to ask people to sign up.
Yeah, John, do you want to talk to this?
Sure. So on October 7th, we sent out an email blast to approximately 660 email addresses with the letter that was discussed, and I think it was passed around at the last meeting, directing everyone on the email list to the Economic Development Committee page and also the e-alert subscription sign up on the town's website. After October 7th, we did have 31 additional subscribers to the EDC e-alerts. So, it did do a little something, and hopefully they'll continue to trickle in.
So how many in total are getting it?
We're at about 86 right now.
That's good.
It's 86 more than zero.
That's
there a thinking, Nance? I think you had suggested, and I wanted to lob it out here, is the thought that we try again? Do another unsolicited outbound to say, hey, we're going to remind you. Many of you have taken advantage of this. Some of you haven't. Is it worth doing that, or do we want to just sort of let it?
No, I think we talked about the second email being something about, John, refresh my memory, something about updating their business information.
So I believe I
don't have my notes.
The thought process was we would use the initial sort of email database and those 660 email addresses, kind ping everyone with the information on the e-alerts, and then the second notice would be directed to those subscribers. Given that, you know, the numbers is still kind of low, maybe that thought process you'd like to revisit.
Yes, I think we should definitely hit them all again. But
yeah, just maybe just one more. I want to refrain from doing. I think we should refrain from doing blast emails and get into the habit of doing so. But I don't think it's completely untoward to try one more, to try to get that number up a little bit, and then we'll leave it where it is. You know, hopefully it'll spread organically. But yeah, I don't know. Nance, do you mind tackling getting a second round of that sent out?
Yes.
With John?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chair, did you get any email replies? I think they were all going to you.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I got, yeah. Yes, it's funny. Not in response to that email specifically, but once they realized, oh, there's an economic development committee, I got a couple of emails. One was asking for information that ultimately I directed them to the town clerk's office because it wasn't something that would be under our direction. But you know, I think they viewed it as access to a government body that, you know, focusing on business. So to some degree, I thought that was a beneficial, a positive. There was only 2 communications, admittedly. And none were bad. So that's, you know. So Valerie, we're going to jump to you. It's D, and I kind of feel like it should have had its own agenda item. This is with regards to your preliminary suggestions for some zoning changes potentially. So I'm not going to try to talk to it. So I'll let you discuss how you want to handle it. John does have the documents if you want to have them displayed. Otherwise, I will leave it to you to introduce to the committee.
Okay, thank you. So I drafted up 2 ideas, and they're really brain dumps. So please excuse any typos. But the one, and I think you got them via email. The one was about restaurant uses. And yep. I'll just run through real quick, sort of the idea that I took from our conversations, from other conversations, and sort of put into a summary. Currently, general service restaurants are only allowed by special permit. They're allowed by special permit in the general business district, the central business district, the neighborhood mixed use district, and the highway industrial district. So we don't allow folks to just come in and get a building permit for a restaurant. You have to go to the Board of Appeals and go through a special permit process where you could be turned down. General service restaurants are seating capacity of at least 100 people, where food and alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages are sold to customers at a table or counter. And they can be sold in an outdoor patio or as carry-out orders. So these are the types of things like Red Heat, the 99, Tremezzos, those types of restaurants. They're not, general service restaurants are not the type of restaurants where you have typically a drive-through facility. Those are limited service restaurants. So we're only talking about the larger restaurants, sort of the sit-down food and alcohol restaurants. And they're by special permit, and those restaurants and the sites that they're on have to meet certain requirements in our zoning, which are surprising. They're listed here as 3.8.4. They have to have a minimum lot size that's larger than typical. They have to meet a very strange landscaping paragraph that is very hard to understand. Even for me, and I read zoning a lot. So they have to jump through some hoops, I'd say, that aren't typical. So when folks look at our zoning, they're not being encouraged about a restaurant use coming to town. They're saying, oh, I have to meet all of this, and also I have to go get a special permit. I don't know if I can, you know, it's something that's not very encouraging for folks who are looking at restaurant uses. So I looked at the 2019 Main Street market study, and it's one of the things that they pointed out for us to look at. John, on the next page, there's this blurb. They said that we should maybe explore that special permit process to look at, allowing certain uses that we feel are appropriate as of right, so they wouldn't have to go through an extra process. And that's really the thinking here, is to allow general service restaurants. So these wouldn't be the drive-through style restaurants, as of right, in the neighborhood mixed use, in the general business. So Main Street, Lowell Street, central business, Main Street area, and highway industrial. So Ballard Vale, Fordham Road, in those areas, without going through a rigorous special permit process and having to meet those requirements. So making it easy, essentially making it easier for restaurants to be located in our business districts. They'd still be going through, for a new restaurant, they'd still go through a site plan review process with the planning board, and the planning board would make sure that they're doing adequate parking and lighting and landscaping and stormwater management. So making sure they're still doing all of the site design components that they need to do to meet the requirements. But they wouldn't go through a process where the Zoning Board of Appeals would say yes or no to the use. The use would be allowed. They just have to make sure they arrange their site appropriately. So that's one of the items. This kind of principal use chart, that's our use chart in the zoning, sort of track change to take away the SP for special permit and write in a yes. It would stay as a no in the other districts that it's not allowed in today. So the residential districts and the general industrial and light industrial. So that's one idea. The other idea is related. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Ask you to hold. Can I? And I'll ask you what you think you'd like to do. I know that the other idea is related, but I kind of feel like we ought to talk about that one and then kind of flush it out a little bit, and then we can go to the next one. And I was really happy that you kind of finished by saying something that was important, which is planning board still has oversight. So it's not like we're not saying all restaurants can open up anywhere not anywhere. Any restaurant can open up in the appropriate zone. They still have to go through the process of making sure the site plan fits and water and all the other important criteria that protects the environment, but also protects the residents and the town itself. So I guess really ultimately, I have two questions. One is, what is the process? I'm bullish about the changes that you've suggested here. I think it makes all the sense in the world to diminish or decrease the blocks and the pain that a new establishment would have to go through, especially if they don't have that same pain in surrounding communities. And this is an observation that was suggested to us by the Donahue Institute, UMass Donahue Institute, in that study from a couple of years ago, that we should be pursuing this kind of a change. So it's not like something we just invented. We're actually acting on recommendations that were made to us. So what is the process for pursuing that, for bringing that forward? And does the committee endorse the idea of doing so, is the first question I have.
I can talk about the process.
Okay.
I kind of drafted this up for this committee. I also drafted it up for the planning board to look at next week at their meeting. So one way to approach it would be that the planning board could make it a proposed zoning article for town meeting next year. And, obviously the Board of Selectmen can also put articles on the warrant as well. So there's sort of two different ways that it could go. Typically the planning board does a zoning article. So I think they'd be interested in this and wanted to present it, especially if this committee has thoughts and supports it and encourages it. I think that would be something that the planning board would consider. And it's been talked about in the past with that group as well.
Thank you, Valerie. So open it up to questions on that specific, I guess, zoning revision or whatever we're calling it.
It seems like it would take a long time to get it through, though, if we go through the zoning board, right? It would take, you know, if you're talking about having it to go through the town meeting and so forth, is there a way to kind of fast track it?
No, unfortunately, that is the process that you have to go through to make a zoning change. So it would go, start the process as a proposed warrant article submitted to the selectmen, and then go through the public hearing process and then to town meeting in the spring. So we have to do that for all of our zoning changes.
Okay. Don't you love it that I don't know this stuff? Because I could just blunderly right in and ask these questions. Okay.
Oh, that's good. They're great questions, because I think largely a lot of folks may think the same way. You know, you think the way your business would think. You see something that needs to be changed, you make the change. The wheels of government are sometimes slow to turn, but we're turning them. Any other thoughts or questions?
Personally, I'm all for it, I would say. Sorry. Okay, Suzanne.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm all for it. I mean, I think the sooner the better. If we have, you know, there's obviously some hurdles to jump over for approval. We'd want to get that started as soon as possible, I would think, right? I don't know how long it takes to get the warrant and get it approved and all that thing. But I think we'd also want to make sure once we can get it to that point, that we get some good publicity with folks to understand. We're just trying to remove hurdles to bring businesses in, point back to the survey saying, you know, this is what people in the town have asked for. And in order to do that, one of the things we need to do to do that is to change the zoning, you know, because I'm not sure why anyone would be against it, but I'm sure there will be. But I think personally, I'm all for it.
So that's a good point. Why would somebody be against this?
Is it a fast track to a liquor license for somebody? I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anyone, I mean, I don't know, is anyone here among us that has concerns about making this kind of a change?
No.
No, I love it.
Perfect.
I don't have any concerns about it, but I think I can see that maybe some people will. Maybe the ZBA might. You know, maybe I don't know. I mean, if you think about why they were put under special permits in the first place, somebody might have concern about it. I don't have a concern about it. I think you can address a lot of the concerns through the site plan review. I mean, I have some questions about why there's some requirements there in the first place with like the 40,000 square foot lot, and whether or not that would, you know, how would that be addressed? I mean, I think that's a big impediment right there. Right. To small, you know, cafe style, general seating restaurants. And I would like to see that addressed too. So, but I can see how some people might say, you know, if you're a resident and you're in a butter to those zones, I think people would want some reassurances that it doesn't mean that there's going to be more impact to them. I think that would be my only concern with anybody that might shy away from the special permit requirement.
Mr. Chair, I'm obviously open to the idea. You know, I only represent 20% of the Board of Selectmen, but that's better than nothing. So you would, and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but our warrant will be set sometime in February or March of next year for the next town meeting. But you can submit articles almost any time of the year. They might just be on the desk for a while, but I don't think there's a particular time in which we start taking them, Jeff, right?
Right. Any articles can be submitted via the petition route, which requires for a annual town meeting, I think it's only 10 signatures if I recall, and then when the warrant is put together, you know, once the signatures are certified and so on, that is placed on the warrant. So typically the schedule is that after the budget is presented at the end of January, and the Finance Committee kicks into gear and reviews the budget, and the warrant articles in the meantime are placed on there that range from zoning articles to capital articles. There's a public hearing that takes place in March. I think this year it's slated for March 16th, and then which is essentially a preview of the town meeting. And then town meeting takes place in this upcoming session, May 1st. So the articles, if this were to be placed on the warrant, would be considered at that point. If it's voted favorably, in this case, to change a zoning article requires a 2/3 vote of town meeting. Then the articles, the town clerk packages up the zoning articles and they get sent to the Attorney General's office, and they have to be reviewed to confirm that they're appropriate. The AG's office doesn't necessarily critique them in terms of the merit per se, but they have to be, legally appropriate. And by the time that approval from the AG's office comes back, it's usually August or thereabouts, August, September.
The last thing I would say, Mr. Chairman, on that is I think Valerie has the right approach there, taking it to the planning board to get their feedback first.
Okay. So Jeff, you highlighted that process, and thank you for doing so, but you highlighted it at the beginning to suggest that it would be a petition article. Can it not be an article that's put forth by the planning board and not be a petition article?
Well, so the petition approach is certainly one option. If residents were to get together and say, this is what we're looking for, that is one route. The other route is through the town government, which is, whether it's the planning board, I think that would make sense in this case, where the planning board endorses this article. It's drafted in final form, town council reviews it, and then it's included in the warrant, and ultimately the Board of Selectmen will review all the articles on the warrant, and they can determine whether or not in the end they wish to have that article on the warrant. The only exception to that is petition articles. Those articles that are submitted, the Board of Selectmen must place on the warrant because at least there's at least 10 signatures for that article. But aside from that, they will determine whether or not, this article, if it was to go forward, whether it's sponsored by the planning board or economic development, whoever, they have the final say on the makeup of the warrant.
Thank you again for that. So I know we don't have it written as an article yet, Valerie. Like you said, it was kind of a brain dump and a good one at that, may I say. But what I'd like to do, especially where you're going to present this and maybe the next one to the planning board next week, is get a vote of this committee, maybe just as an endorsement of proceeding with this course of action. I don't think we can. It's premature to vote on agreeing with the article because there isn't really an article yet. But we certainly want to indicate our what I'd like for us to do, if it's to your pleasure, is for us to hopefully vote in the affirmative that we believe that this is the correct course of action, and we hope that the planning board will pursue a zoning change consistent with what Valerie's laid out. I don't know. Is that a reason, Valerie? Did I say that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Would you be able to sort of re-articulate that if we were to take a vote to that effect?
Yes.
I feel like I stumbled on my words, but I think you know what we're trying to say here.
I do.
Okay. So, Suzanne, while you were away, we made you chairwoman. So congratulations. You're muted.
I'm sorry. I had to get I was dying. My battery was dying. I had to get a cord. Needed a lifeline. Sorry. But I was listening.
Okay. All right. So is that, I don't know. You guys heard me blab on there about what I'm hoping we can achieve by pushing this forward as with an affirmative. I won't restate it. Is there a motion from someone on the floor here to instruct Valerie to go with that message to the planning board?
I motion, yes.
Carol's making a motion.
I second.
I second.
Jens makes the second. Sorry, Paul, you asleep at the
I'll
job.
third. Yeah.
We have a made and a second.
Who second that?
I'm going to take Suzanne. So I'm gonna, I'll go across my screen here. All in favor, Carol?
Yes.
Mike is a yes. Paul?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
All right. Valerie?
Yes.
Jeff, you don't get the vote. Nancy?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Excellent. Look at that. That's awesome. So now we're running a little bit late, but I hate to end late, but we're going to end late tonight because this next one I'm really excited about.
And Mike, I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Oh, Carol.
I know, I do.
And we're talking about beer next too.
Oh. But I just wanted to say before I go on, and the major takeaways that were on the survey results on that we posted on the page. Really, I think I'm kind of using it almost as a guide for what we're doing right now. We're really kind of running on all cylinders, I think, on hitting the things that people have identified. I feel like we've kind of hit a groove a little bit tonight. I don't know. And we're kind of, ticking things off that are really important and leading us in the right direction. So I think it was a really good meeting.
Thank you, Carol.
But I do have to go.
Thank you.
Thank you all. See you later. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. So Valerie, we're back to you on breweries.
So the other idea is we've talked about breweries, and I think I mentioned last time that they're considered an industrial use. They actually manufacture something, so really they would be allowed to be located in industrial zones. So when I went through different zoning ordinances across the state, I found this kind of newer term. It's not exactly new, but as far as zoning goes, it's new. A brew pub, which is something that's more of a restaurant than anything, but they do make their own beer, and they would sell it, on site within the restaurant, but they'd also sell it wholesale, retail, other places. But the primary use is a restaurant. And this sort of sounded like something that fit what folks have been talking about as far as restaurants, but also kind of took a cue from also the market study from 2019 that said people are looking for more of an experience. They're looking for a place to go, not just to eat a meal, but to, have an experience, have more than that. So this use, I guess the idea, to try to be brief, I'm not going to go through all of this, but the idea would be to allow this type of use, the same places that we would allow a general service restaurant. So allow it as of right, no special permit, because it is essentially a restaurant with kind of a side brewing aspect. It would be allowed in the general business district, the neighborhood mixed use district, the central business, and the highway industrial, same places where general service restaurants that we just talked about in the previous idea, where those would be allowed. So we'd define it in our zoning, and then we'd allow it in certain districts. And again, they would still have to go through the site plan review process with the planning board to review the site plan, make sure parking's taken care of, stormwater's taken care of, all of the aspects that you typically see on a development plan. So that's the idea, really briefly.
Valerie, may I say, today, if someone came to your office with this idea of wanting to have a brew pub in Wilmington, would they be relegated to industrial? How would that get handled in the absence of this revision?
It would be interesting. It would be a conversation with the building inspector to see how we would classify it, because that brewing aspect, I think he would see as industrial, but it's also a restaurant, so it's a little bit complicated. It doesn't fit in nicely in our current zoning. So this would be a way of being very clear that, defining it and allowing it. If something isn't specified in our zoning as allowed or even defined, it's not mentioned, Our zoning says that it's prohibited. So that's another thing that could kind of be determined. Well, this isn't in here, so therefore it's not allowed. So this would be a way of saying, this is what we're talking about and it is allowed, making it very clear.
It's business friendly. It's also resident friendly, in my view. It's the kind of experiential entertainment that the community in our survey indicated they were interested in seeing more of. It's also the kind of enterprise that the Donahue study from 2019, was it, indicated is growing and is becoming more popular, and that is something that the town of Wilmington should be exploring, creating the opportunity to come into town. And so in the absence of making this kind of an adjustment to our zoning, it creates, in my view, it creates barriers. If I were a small business owner and I wanted to open a brew pub in Wilmington, I think I would see it as a challenge. And if there were someone near another community nearby where that challenge didn't exist, that might incent me to go in a different direction. So I think we need to minimize the other direction. I'm not saying it's going to absolutely bring one in, but it removes one of the speed bumps. And I think that's important. At least that's my perspective on it. So I ask you folks, the same question I asked on the last one. Is there any questions or concerns about it? And then at the end of that discussion, would it be something we would like to proceed to give recommendation to Valerie to bring to the planning board?
Yeah, just a comment, if I could, and I don't know the answer offhand, and I don't know if Valerie, if you would, but I seem to recall currently in these instances where we have restaurants that have the all alcohol license, that, and I forget now whether it falls under the Board of Selectmen's regulations with respect to alcohol use, or whether it's the ABCC or where it comes from. But I seem to recall that as it stands right now, in order to serve alcohol, the establishment, you must also have food. So for example, in some of the places that I've been to, some of these brew pubs in the past, you can go in and they have, multiple varieties of beer that they produce there, and you can get samples. And my recollection anyways, you don't necessarily have to sit down and have a meal. So I guess if the expectation is that type of possibility, in addition to the prospect of having food, we would also want to make sure that if this were to go forward, that circumstance exists, if that's the intent here.
Yeah, I believe when I looked into where that requirement was held, I think it's with the Board of Selectmen, with their kind of rules and regulations.
Yeah.
So it's something that could also be proposed.
I can tell you that there's a place in Andover called the Oak and Iron Brew Pub. And it's in an industrial area. So I'm not sure if the zoning was because of that or if it was just a cool place to set up, but it's a cool place. And Jeff, to your point, they have, even before COVID, you could get I think you could get 2 beers. I forget exactly what their rule was, but they don't have restaurant food. They don't serve meals, but they had a choice of a couple of like a cheese platter or some pretzels, and I think one other item as well, like a vegetable platter or something. And you could pick from those, a very finite, small list of available foods that they had in the brew pub, but you had to get one of them, I think, before you could continue to consume another beer. What they're doing now is they bring food trucks into the driveway. In order to stay there on site, you have to place an order at the food truck, and they're overseeing and making sure you're doing it. So I don't want to overcomplicate the matter, but there are mechanisms that other places have looked at.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, I think, is a good idea. I only brought that up because I just want to make sure we're covering that aspect of it. That if the intent is, as it sounds like it is, we may have to have a conversation about altering the Board of Selectmen's regulations as they relate to serving alcohol.
It is, I mean, a lot of places want to be able to serve food because when you serve alcohol, I mean, you have a liability if somebody gets drunk. I mean, I bartended for a long time. I mean, the idea is that if you're serving alcohol, or you want people to eat, you know, for safety reasons. So, so I mean, it is something to consider. I mean, in my view, you want to make sure you have that opportunity to serve food. I mean, I think most of the brew pubs want to serve food. Yeah. I would also suggest, like, I think a brew pub would be appropriate in one of the industrial zones, maybe light industrial. I don't think it's necessarily, you have to limit it just to the general business or central business district, but I think it might actually be appropriate in one of the industrial zones. I don't know about general industrial, but maybe light industrial, maybe even general industrial. I think it should be kicked around though. It kind of hits the two places. A lot of them are in industrial zones in other communities. Yeah. So
I agree. And you can kind of create a cool vibe in some of those warehouse settings for that kind of an establishment. But, you know, you've got to be able to find it. It's got to be a draw, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I do think a brewery with sort of a tasting room, I think would be a more of an industrial use that we would be allowed in our industrial districts today. This is more of a restaurant with a brewing aspect, I guess. So you'd be allowing both of those in different places.
Things like Salem Beer Works or Boston Beer Works or
yeah.
Yep. So again, you didn't write an article. You
brain dumped.
I'm sorry?
Brain dumped.
Yeah, you brain dumped. All right, I like that. And I think it's, personally, I like the idea of continuing the momentum on that brain dump. I'm not sure what the next process is. Would you propose that if we endorsed it, that you would bring that to the planning board together with the other one?
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to see if you guys, and I say that collectively, if you folks would endorse the idea of Valerie bringing both of these measures. Well, we already voted on one, but can we move on this one too?
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Yep.
So someone move to that effect.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Nancy and Paul, I keep looking and it says Pat, and it's killing me.
Does it?
Yeah, it says Patricia Tibnan. Throwing me off. It's been doing it all night. So we have a motion and a second. So I'm going to go across the top. All in favor? Pat, Paul?
Yes.
Mike is yes. Tom?
Yep.
Valerie?
Yes.
Nancy?
I motioned yes.
Yes. Okay. Suzanne?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Greg?
Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you all. I really, Carol said it, I really believe this is something that we can do. I feel like a little bit of credit that we kind of lit the fire under these kind of things, and Valerie's known about some of these, but now we've got a little bit of momentum. I'm really enthused and excited about the measures that we took here tonight. So that's good stuff. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Valerie, too. Moving on, new business, member statements, discussion, agenda items for future meetings, etc. Anybody have any reports they want to make or suggestions?
I would just like to throw one more suggestion to go with the bylaws. And I don't know, now that we've had COVID-19 and we have the outdoor seating and the patios, and we've kind of done it anyways, but we still haven't addressed the outdoor seating issues in the bylaws, right? I mean, do you think we should?
You mean to be irrespective of COVID, that maybe that there'd be
yeah, I mean, we're doing it anyways because of COVID-19, but prior in the bylaws, we didn't allow for outdoor seating, and maybe we should.
We actually changed that, I think a handful of years ago. We added wording about outdoor patios being allowed. I have my bylaw here. I can tell you what it says, but it is allowed. may be sold to customers for consumption on an outdoor patio or off premise as carry out orders. So both of the general service and limited service, and actually the sandwich shops, they allow for, I believe for outdoor seating. Double checking on the sandwich shops.
But would it allow for, like, I hate to pick a particular one, but look at what Red Heat did, right? So they have an outdoor patio that's connected to their building, but then because of COVID, they went and they brought in that big tent. Same thing that Tremezzo did. So yes, it's a patio, but it's really more than that. They took over part of their parking to accommodate a tent to incent outdoor dining. In a non-COVID time, would they be able to do that under the bylaw you just read? Is that what you're asking, Suzanne?
Yeah, yeah. So I remember we talked about early on that outdoor seating wasn't really addressed, in the bylaws appropriately for something like that, like for something larger than just a small little patio or.
And is your suggestion, Suzanne, that in a non-pandemic, that if a restaurant like Red Heat wanted to do a tent like the one that they've had, that they should get a permit to do so?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Valerie, you have a thought on that?
Yeah, the one thing that comes to mind is typically they wouldn't be allowed to use their parking area for something else. They'd have to supply that, the required number of parking spaces that they need per the zoning. Because of COVID, it's different. They're not getting as many customers, so they can take up some of that parking. Specifically, I guess at Red Heat, their parking lot is always full during lunches and busy times. So that would be one challenge with making a patio out of a parking area, but, a use could propose a larger patio. We do define an outdoor patio. It has to be accessed only through the restaurant. So, you have to have it connected to the restaurant with specific bounds, defining it. But they could have a hardscape patio of any size, but typically it wouldn't spill out onto a parking area in normal conditions.
So I would probably want to get ahead of this because I would definitely expect this to come up. So is that a set no, or is there something that we can move forward with to make a change to?
Yes, a suggestion of change.
A suggestion, whether it just be for the summer months or.
Right.
Because I know that this will definitely come up when the warm weather comes back.
Are there size restrictions in the bylaw? Can you have, does it?
For a patio?
Yeah.
No. You can have as big of a patio as you can, you can fit.
So when you say patio, is that the same as outdoor dining like they're doing right now?
Yeah. You would just, it would be, if you were designing it new, you would need to have it sort of have bounds to it, defined so that it's accessed through the restaurant so people can't just walk in from the outside.
Okay, so none of these have access from the restaurant, and I'm thinking again, Rocco's, Tremezzo's, Red Heat. So when this is over, December, whatever day it is, then that's it for outdoor seating. And if they come to request that next year, I just want to make sure that we have an answer in place because I know that will be asked.
So if it's on top of parking that's required for the site, under normal circumstances, they would need to have that parking available. Okay. If it's a sidewalk that's attached to, along the building, or if it's a grassed area or, some other area that is not parking, then there's, you know, there's opportunities to figure that out.
So maybe we can think about this a little bit more, how we can put something together in terms of just some verbiage to explain what they can or cannot do, or, and I don't have to do this right now, but.
Yeah, Suzanne, I'm gonna ask if you wouldn't mind, because you're the resident zoning guru other than Valerie. So it's a wicked good idea, and Nancy, I appreciate your input as well from your perspective. But I clearly think, to your suggestion, Nancy, we'd need to be ahead of it, either to have an answer, or to maybe make some revisions that maybe would be a little bit more open to accommodating those requests later. Right now, I get it. I get the parking and the restrictions and the requirements, but is there any flexibility? And if so, how could we make that flexibility? So offline, Suzanne, maybe you could kind of review some of the zoning and interact with Valerie, and maybe the two brain trusts there could come up with some thoughts on maybe some accommodations that we could have another conversation about.
I can look into it and see, maybe what other communities already do, or what you could do, or sure, I can look into it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, let me know if, between now and we're about to find out when we're going to meet again, between now and then, let me know if you have enough meat on the bone to have a conversation in our next agenda. Okay.
Okay.
Public comments. John, anybody chomping at the bit to share their thoughts and ideas with us?
We do not have anyone right now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. Hayes, certainly invite anything from you if you're listening.
No, Mike, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here tonight, too. Where am I? Next meeting date. I'm sorry. Today is the 5th of November. So we're going to, I guess we bounce into December. What did we decide? Tuesdays? I know I screwed up the last couple. Sorry about that. Oh, and thank you, by the way, for your flexibility. I feel bad about one of them was just all me. The other one, I just felt like it was the right thing to do. December 8th?
I wouldn't be able to do the 8th. It's a planning board meeting.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Never mind that. Sorry.
I'm open on the 8th.
Yep, that works for me.
So we're going to pencil in the 8th and make sure it works from a technical perspective with WCT, well, with Zoom, etc. 12/8. And between now and then, I'll have another conversation with Miss DiStefano to see if she wants to come and chat with us at the beginning part of our meeting. And we'll hope that we can have a little bit of an update on those two zoning discussions and a follow-up on Suzanne's efforts. And other things that we've talked about. Can
I ask one more question?
There is.
And this is just something that's come up in some calls with other towns. And forgive me, regarding the liquor licenses. I don't know how often, is it billed annually or not? I don't know that answer, but the question I have is there any talks of rebates for those that hold a liquor license and that were shut down through COVID?
It's an interesting question, because I was talking to Carrie Coburn-Dion, the assistant, and she mentioned that this came up at she's from Tingsboro, came up at a selectmen's meeting in Tingsboro. I'm not sure it was specific to alcohol, but it had to do with some of their other licenses, and I think they took it under advisement. So that is not something that we have dealt with yet, but I guess we would need to do a little research on that. The alcohol licenses come up for renewal once a year. They'll be coming up on the selectmen's docket for 12/14, and they run from 1/1 to 12/31. So that would be something that we would need to do some background work on, and I think the selectmen would have to weigh in on that.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone else?
Next time I want to hear more about Jeff's trip to a brew pub.
We're going to have to do a research trip, I'm afraid. In fact, I'm planning on doing one this weekend. I'll let you know how it goes. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Home by 9:30.
Say again, Greg?
Be home by 9:30.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I forgot I was taking notes.
Yeah. Oh, great. You're gonna have to watch the whole thing back now. Greg's made the motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
By Valerie. All in favor? Pat Tivnan.
Aye.
Sorry, that's Paul Tivnan. Mike is a yes. Tom.
Yes.
Valerie.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Suzanne.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you all. John,
Hey.
thanks for hanging in there with us and being the tech extraordinaire. Mr. Hayes, have a great evening. Jeff, thank you for joining us, and good night
Yes.
all.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Have a good night.
Bye.